everyone, it's Cass. Welcome back to my channel, What Cass Read. Today I am finally here to bring you part 2 of my bookshelf tour. If you haven't already seen part 1, I don't actually make an appearance in that video because I was not ready for the day yet. Just decided to pick up the camera and start filming my bookshelf. So that was convenient. But if you haven't seen that, I will go ahead and link that for you down below. Behind me is the bookshelf that you normally would see as my background for my videos. That's because I film in my living room. My bookshelves are a part of my living room. My books are a part of my living room decor because, you know, when you live that apartment life, sometimes you got to fit your bookshelves wherever you can. So let's get to it. Part 2. Okay, so here we go. This is the first cube on the bookshelf. We have The Three-Body Problem by Cixin Liu, translated by Ken Liu. One of my favorite books of all time, The Pillars of the Earth, written by Ken Follett, and World Without End by Ken Follett. Definitely want to get to reading this year. This is A Big Ship at the Edge of the Universe, written by Alex White. I have Kings of the Wild, written by Nicholas Ames. The sequel, Bloody Rose. We have Grace of Kings, written by Ken Liu, book 1 of the Dandelion Dynasty. And Wall of Storms, sequel. I had this book hanging out at the top. This is Anatomy of Evil, written by Will Thomas. This is a Barker and Lewin mystery novel. I also have Fatal Inquiry, written by Will Thomas. I don't know the order that those two are supposed to be in. I think they're books 7 and 8 in the series. And then I have Sorcery of Thorns, written by Margaret Rogerson. Next up is The Half-Drowned King, written by Linnea Hartsuyker. I have The Book Thief, written by Marcus Zuzak. The Poppy War, written by R.F. Kuang. I have The Enchantment of Ravens, written by Margaret Rogerson. The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, written by Stuart Turton. When the Moon is Low, written by Nadia Hashimi. This is A House Without Windows, also written by Nadia Hashimi. The Traitor Baru Cormorant, written by Seth Dickinson. And I have this box set here, Boxers and Saints, a graphic novel. And this is the cover of it. It's written by Jean Luen Yang. Okay, this bottom cube, I have a lot of really large fantasy books down there. I have Saga. This is book 1, so this contains volumes 1 through 3. This is Saga Book 2. This contains volumes 4 through 6, and both of these are written by Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan. On the top I have The Witchwood Crown, which is book 1 of The Last King of Austin Ard, written by Tad Williams. I have The Way of Kings, written by Brandon Sanderson, book 1 of the Stormlight Archive. Words of Radiance, book 2 of the Stormlight Archive. And I also have Oathbringer, book number 3 of the Stormlight Archive. This is The Name of the Wind, written by Patrick Rothfuss, book number 1 of the Kingkiller Chronicles. Yes, I have both the US and the UK edition. This is The Wise Man's Fear, written by Patrick Rothfuss, book number 2 of the Kingkiller Chronicles. And The Dragonbone Chair, written by Tad Williams, book 1 of Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn trilogy. This would be A Court of Thorns and Roses, written by Sarah J. Maas, A Court of Mist and Fury, A Court of Wings and Ruin, and A Court of Frost and Starlight. I have The Star-Touched Queen, written by Roshni Chokshi, and A Crown of Wishes, also written by Roshni Chokshi. I have The Queen of Blood, written by Sarah Beth Durst. This is book number 1 of the Queens of Varenthia trilogy. This is The Reluctant Queen, book number 2, and this is The Queen of Sorrow. And one of my all-time favorites, this is The Giver, written by Lois Lowry. Then I have this basket. I got this basket from IKEA back when I bought this bookshelf. So this is where I keep a lot of smaller books, maybe some mass market paperbacks. So I'll pull this out so that way you can see what's inside. Okay, so as you can see, I have it stuffed to the brim pretty much. So we'll take this one. I have some more mass market paperbacks of Robin Hobb. This is Shaman's Crossing. This is book number 1 of the Soldier Son trilogy. I have a whole video on how to read Robin Hobb, so this is not part of the Realm of the Elderlings, but I did want to have this on hand once I'm finished reading Realm of the Elderlings. Then I have book number 2, which is called Forest Mage. And then book number 3 is called Renegade's Magic. I have City of Lies, written by Sam Hawke, a Poison War novel. I just hauled this book. This is Hood, written by Stephen R. Lawhead. This is book number 1 of the King Raven trilogy. I have The Heart of What Was Lost, written by Tad Williams. This is a novella of Austin Ard. Then we have The Calculating Stars, written by Mary Robinette Kowal. I have my Lord of the Rings books in here. So this is The Hobbit, written by J.R.R. Tolkien. The Fellowship of the Ring, book 1 of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I have The Two Towers as well. And I have The Return of the King. I really do enjoy the older version of this cover art. And then I do have the Silmarillion. I believe I bought this in Prague, Czech Republic. I don't think I bought this when I was in Austria. Funny story, my brother and I were visiting different things while we were in Prague, and then we both wound up in the same exact bookstore, in the same exact aisle, buying the same exact book. So if that doesn't tell you something about my brother and I don't know what does. Okay, I have A Discovery of Witches, book 1 of the All Souls trilogy written by Deborah Harkness. I also have Shadow of Night, book 2. And I have The Book of Life. This is book 3 of the All Souls trilogy. I do have this mass market paperback. I'm trying to get all the mass market paperbacks for Robin Hobb in addition to my other editions, which you'll see in a little bit. But this is Blood of Dragons. This is actually book 4 of the Rainwild Chronicles series, so this is a quartet of books, and this is the only one I have in the mass market paperback edition. I have The Furies of Calderon, book 1 of the Codex Alera, written by Jim Butcher. And this is my original copy of The Giver, written by Lois Lowry. I just wanted to have 2 because this is a top 5 book of mine. So then I have the first 4 books in the Dresden Files, written by Jim Butcher. So this is Stormfront, book 1. Book number 2 is called Full Moon. Alright, this is Grave Peril, book number 3 in the Dresden Files. And Summer Night, book number 4. I have The Kite Runner, written by Khaled Hosseini. This is one of my top 5 favorite books of all time as well. This is A Thousand Splendid Suns. And we have And the Mountains Echoed. This is Pachinko, written by Min Jin Lee. I also have Crime and Punishment, written by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And I also have Dr. Zhivago, written by Boris Pasternak. So this book and Crime and Punishment I do also have in the Vintage Classics Russian edition. I don't want to get rid of both copies because I like having the pretty ones, but then I also like having this one just kind of as the throw around copy. And then that's it inside the basket. Okay, onto this bottom cube. Stacked on top over here, I do have God's Grave, written by Jay Kristoff, and then I have Nevernight stacked as well. So these are books 1 and 2 of the Nevernight trilogy. This is Malice, written by John Gwynne, book number 1 of the Faithful and the Fallen series. This is Valor, book 2. We have Ruin, book number 3. And the 4th and final book of the Faithful and the Fallen series is called Wrath. This is The Shadow of What Was Lost, written by James Islington. This is book number 1 of the Licanius trilogy. I have Mage's Blood, book number 1 of the Moontide Quartet, written by David Hare. And this is Scarlet Tides, book number 2 of the Moontide Quartet. This was stacked at the back. This is The Bear and the Nightingale, written by Catherine Arden. And City of Ghosts, written by Victoria Schwab. And then the entire back shelf you can see is the Outlander series, written by Diana Gabaldon. So book 1 is Outlander. Book 2, Dragonfly in Amber. Book number 3 is Voyager. Book number 4, Drums of Autumn. Book number 5, The Fiery Cross. Book number 6, A Breath of Snow and Ashes. Book number 7, An Echo in the Bone. And book number 8, Written in My Own Heart's Blood. Okay, here we are to the Robin Hobb shelf. This is probably the shelf that y'all were waiting to see. And this shelf I have like triple stacked just to be able to get the entire series in here. So on the top, I do have The Inheritance, written by Robin Hobb / Megan Lindholm. This is a collection of short stories from the Six Duchies and beyond. So when Robin Hobb writes about her fantasy books, she writes under the pen name Robin Hobb, and then Megan Lindholm is her given name, which she's also published some stories in as well. Alright, Realm of the Elderlings time. Book number 1, Assassin's Apprentice. Book number 2, Royal Assassin. And book number 3 of the Farseer trilogy, this is Assassin's Quest. Now we have the Live Ship Traders trilogy. Book number 1 is Ship of Magic. Book number 2 is The Mad Ship. And book number 3, Ship of Destiny. Then I have the Tawny Man trilogy. So book number 1 is Fool's Errand. Book number 2, The Golden Fool. And then I tucked this one in here because it fit perfectly. This is The Willful Princess and the Piebald Prince. This is a collection of 2 short stories or a novella. You would read this either before the Tawny Man trilogy or after the Tawny Man trilogy. And this is Fool's Fate, book number 3 of the Tawny Man trilogy. This is Dragon Keeper, book number 1 of the Rainwild Chronicles. Dragon Haven, book number 2. City of Dragons, book number 3. And Blood of Dragons, book number 4. The final trilogy in this whole series, this is Fool's Assassin. This is book number 1 of the Fitz and the Fool trilogy. Book number 2, Fool's Quest. And the final book, Assassin's Fate. Then I have just some other hardcovers in the back. This is The Changeling, written by Victor Laval. I've got my section of Marissa Meyer's books up here. So this is Renegades, book number 1 of the, I think it's like her superhero series. I forget what it's called. So this is Renegades. Cinder, book number 1 of the Lunar Chronicles. Scarlet, book number 2. Cress is book number 3. Winter is book number 4, and Fairest is Lavana's story. Then I have The Cruel Prince, written by Holly Black, and the last book in this cubby, The Wicked King, written by Holly Black. Okay, this cubby down here, I have 2 major series on this part of the shelf. So this first part is obviously Robert Jordan. This is the Wheel of Time series. I have the first 11 books. I don't have any of the books yet that were co-authored / authored by Brandon Sanderson. So I'll pull this one off the top because that's not in order. We have book number 1, The Eye of the World. Book number 2, The Great Hunt. Book number 3, The Dragon Reborn. Book number 4, Shadow Rising. Book number 5, The Fires of Heaven. Book number 6, Lord of Chaos. Book number 7, A Crown of Swords. Book number 8, The Path of Daggers. Book number 9 is Winter's Heart. Book number 10, Crossroads of Twilight. And book number 11, Knife of Dreams. In case you're wondering, I actually got all of these off of Book Outlet. So I just kept checking back periodically to see if they had any new shipments of the Robert Jordan Wheel of Time series, and I just kept collecting them. So that's how I got the first 11 books, and I haven't seen any of the Brandon Sanderson ones yet, but if I do, I'll probably add them. Okay, and then as you can see at the very back, that is my original hardcover copies of the Harry Potter series. So I have books 1 through 7. They actually fit perfectly inside this little cubby as well. I do have The Prisoner of Azkaban in the illustrated edition, and I have the first 2 books in the Slytherin edition. I also have the paperback special edition with the with the Hogwarts on the spine. Those are just in a completely separate room in the house. I just didn't have enough space for all the different Harry Potter editions that I have. So I wanted to keep my originals on the shelf, and so that's why you see them all there. I'm not going to pull them all out. Okay, second to last cubby. As you can see, this is where a bulk of my Brandon Sanderson books are. These are all in the UK covers, and then I have the Stormlight Archives in the US covers. I really enjoy the cover art for the various ones, and that's why I have different collections. Okay, but on the top, I do have the Wayfarer series written by Becky Chambers. So of course, book number 1, The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. Book number 2, A Closed and Common Orbit. And book number 3, Record of a Spaceborne Few. First up on the Brandon Sanderson shelf, this is Elantris. Then I have Warbreaker. The collection of short stories, Arcanum Unbounded. This is the Mistborn Trilogy box set. So it does still have the box around it. That comes with The Final Empire, The Well of Ascension, and then The Hero of Ages. I have these 3 backwards. Of course I do. So this is The Alloy of Law. This is book number 1 of the Second Era Mistborn trilogy. Shadows of Self, book number 2. And then The Bands of Mourning. I have The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and Other Tales written by Washington Irving. This is in the Word Cloud Classics edition. And the last one on top is The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter, written by Theodora Goss. Okay, and then there you see I have my Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire series, and then I have 3 other classic Word Cloud Classics books on this shelf. So of course, book number 1 of A Song on Ice and Fire is Game of Thrones, written by George R.R. Martin. Book number 2, A Clash of Kings. Book number 3, A Storm of Swords. Book number 4, A Feast for Crows. And book number 5, A Dance with Dragons. Back to the classics, this is The Count of Monte Cristo, written by Alexandre Dumas. The Call of the Wild and Other Stories, written by Jack London. And then I have A Christmas Carol and Other Holiday Treasures, written by Charles Dickens. All right, and then the very last cube of this bookshelf tour part 2. Lots of hardcovers on this shelf. I have Truth Witch, written by Susan Dennard, book number 1 of the Witchland series. I have Wind Witch, book number 2. Sight Witch. This is A Tale of the Witchlands, so this is to be read in between Wind Witch and the next book, which I have, and this is Blood Witch. Then I have my Mark Lawrence hardcovers. So this is Red Sister, book number 1 of the Book of the Ancestor trilogy. I have Gray's Sister, book number 2, and the third book in the trilogy, Holy Sister, written by Mark Lawrence. This is The Sisters of the Winter Wood, written by Rena Rossner, and The Priory of the Orange Tree, written by Samantha Shannon. This is Dark Matter, written by Blake Crouch. The Gilded Wolves, written by Roshni Chokshi. Black Leopard, Red Wolf, written by Marlon James. The Ruin of Kings, written by Jen Lyons. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, written by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The Power, written by Naomi Alderman. The Buried Giant, written by Kazuo Ishiguro. The Book of M, written by Peng Shepard. The Lost Queen, written by Signe Pike. And finally, we have A Gathering of Ravens, written by Scott Oden. All right, everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. My arm is so tired from doing these bookshelf tours. Now I know why people just like set the book on the shelf and then talk about it. It's to save their arms. Note for you, note for future self if I ever do another bookshelf tour. But yes, I hope you really enjoyed this. I've been on BookTube for almost 2 years now, and this is the first time I've done a bookshelf tour. So if you ever wondered what I kept on my bookshelves, how I stored my books, how I stacked everything, how it all looks, now you have the inside scoop. If you want to follow me on my social media, feel free to do so. So I'm on Instagram and Twitter at whatcassread, same as this channel, super easy to find. And then of course my Goodreads account is always linked down below. And you know how these videos end. I'll talk to you later. Bye.